I'm sorry to hear that. Here's a rewritten version. In the midst of our wedding ceremony, a shocking disruption shattered the serene atmosphere. My mother-in-law, with an air of audacity, seized the microphone from my father-in-law mid-speech. Her words cut through the air like a blade. I apologize for my daughter's lack of beauty. The guests shifted uncomfortably as her declaration hung in the air, a bitter contrast to the joyous occasion. I glanced at my husband, hoping for support, only to be met with a chilling smirk. My senses reeled as I struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events. A voice, firm and resolute, broke the stunned silence. An older gentleman rose from his seat, his actions commanding attention. "Is that all?" he demanded, his gaze piercing. Without waiting for an answer, he approached me with purpose. Recognizing him, my husband's expression betrayed a mix of surprise and fear. Before I could gather my thoughts, the man took my arm and ushered me away from the chaos. "Let's leave," he said gently, leading me through the corridors, away from the unwanted spectacle of our wedding day. A whirlwind of thoughts swept through my mind, painting a vivid picture of my life. My name is Angela, a 35-year-old woman shaped by the tumultuous currents of my past. Raised in a single-parent household after my parents divorced during my elementary school years, I became intimately acquainted with resilience and responsibility from a tender age. In my 20s, life took an unexpected turn when my mother fell ill, requiring my devoted care. Days melded into nights as I juggled the demands of work and the duties of a caregiver, my world revolving around her needs. Despite the challenges, I persevered, driven by love and duty. As the years passed, still unmarried in my 30s, fate intervened in the form of Stephen. A chance encounter at my office, where I manned the reception desk, blossomed into something more profound. Stephen, a man of kindness and understanding, saw beyond the complexities of my life and extended a hand of love. His proposal, offered despite the weight of my caregiving responsibilities, stirred a maelstrom of emotions within me. Could I dare to embrace happiness while tethered to the obligations of my past? Dope gnawed at my resolve, a relentless companion in the journey of love. Yet Stephen's unwavering support shattered the walls of my uncertainty. With tender words, he laid bare his heart, offering not just a partnership, but a promise of inclusion. "Let us be a family of 3, he proposed, a beacon of light in the darkness of my doubts. Moved by his heartfelt proposal, I made the decision to marry Stephen. However, when we shared the news with our parents, the reactions couldn't have been more contrasting. While my mother overflowed with joy, Stephen's mother, whom we'll call Ruth, responded with cutting disdain. During our first visit to Steve's home as an engaged couple, Ruth's words pierced the air like arrows. "I must be frank, I don't consider a woman from a single-parent family suitable for my son," she declared, her tone laced with contempt. As we embarked on wedding preparations, Ruth's hostility persisted, veiled in sarcasm and barbed remarks. Her comments, dripping with disdain, chipped away at my resolve. Despite her relentless jabs, I held my ground, refusing to allow her insults to go unchallenged. "I can endure your insults, but I won't tolerate you speaking ill of my mother," I asserted firmly, meeting her venomous words with unwavering strength. Yet Ruth's attacks only escalated, accusing me of using deceit to ensnare her son and casting unfounded aspersions on my family. Faced with her baseless accusations, I stood my ground, defending my honor and that of my loved ones. Though the road ahead seemed fraught with challenges, I refused to allow Ruth's bitterness to tarnish the love Stephen and I shared. With each attempt to assert myself, Ruth's venomous retorts intensified, leaving me feeling increasingly powerless. The thought of confiding in Steve crossed my mind, but I couldn't bear to burden him with unnecessary worries as we embarked on our journey into married life. Ruth's audacity reached new heights as she began to meddle in our wedding plans, even intruding upon the sacred ritual of selecting a wedding dress. Standing alongside my husband, she boldly declared her intent to choose the gown herself. Steve, oblivious to the tension, praised his mother's sense of style and eagerly supported her involvement. "I appreciate your gesture, but I want the freedom to choose a dress that resonates with me personally," I asserted gently, refusing to relinquish control over a decision so deeply personal. "I traveled all this way for you, only to be met with disappointment," my mother-in-law lamented, her words dripping with hurt. My husband's immediate defense of her, always swift to side with her, especially when she portrayed herself as the victim, stung deeply. Yet, when it came to the wedding dress, a symbol of my joy and individuality, I couldn't yield. I understand, but I must choose my own dress. This moment is too important to compromise on, I affirmed resolutely, unwilling to sacrifice my vision for the sake of appeasing others. Despite her reluctance, my mother-in-law relented, though her resentment lingered. As the morning of the wedding dawned, her simmering animosity erupted into a shocking display of cruelty. What a dreadful dress! And the veil? Tasteless, she scoffed upon encountering my chosen attire in the dressing room. Her words cut deep, a venomous attack on the culmination of my dreams. Despite my rising distress, I endeavored to maintain composure, determined to sidestep any turmoil on my special day. My mother, who adores sewing, crafted this veil with love. We selected the dress together, and I truly adore it, I explained evenly, hoping to diffuse the tension. But my attempt at peace was shattered as my mother-in-law's eyes widened with fury. In an instant, her calm facade crumbled, replaced by a storm of rage. With a sudden motion, she produced a can of coffee from her purse, unleashing its contents onto my beloved dress. Shock paralyzed me as the dark liquid stained the pristine fabric, rendering it unsalvageable. Desperation gripped me as I reached for a nearby towel, but my efforts proved futile against the irreversible damage. This is the consequence of disobedience, she spat, her voice dripping with malice. With a final decree, she declared my attire unfit for the occasion, leaving me with no choice but to comply with her demands. As she exited the dressing room, her vindictive act hung heavy in the air, a bitter reminder of the power she wielded over my happiness. She must have deliberately brought the canned coffee, plotting to ruin my dress all along, evident from the fact that she had another dress prepared. Fueled by a mix of anger and frustration, I trembled with disbelief at her calculated cruelty. Seeking solace, I retreated to the separate waiting room where my husband awaited, tears streaming down my cheeks as I recounted the ordeal. This is utterly unfair. It's going to cast a shadow over our entire wedding. What would you like me to do about it? He snapped, his frustration palpable. Before I could finish, he cut me off, his voice rising in anger. His sudden outburst mirrored the venomous intensity of his mother's actions. Stunned by his abrupt shift in demeanor, I recoiled, taken aback by the harshness of his words. Yet just as swiftly as his anger erupted, it dissipated, replaced by a sense of remorse. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lash out like that. I'm just feeling overwhelmed, he apologized, his agitation evident as he wiped beads of sweat from his brow. Despite his apology, a pang of guilt gnawed at me for burdening him with my troubles on such a momentous day. In an effort to diffuse the tension, I opted to lend an ear to my husband's concerns. You seem really stressed. What's going on? I inquired gently, hoping to offer some support. It's a bit chaotic. The CEO of my company unexpectedly decided to attend our wedding. It's a long story, but basically he heard about our wedding from Steven's boss, who happened to meet him here at the hotel. My husband explained, his voice tinged with apprehension. And to top it off, one of my colleagues fell ill last minute, so they invited the CEO to fill in. The coincidence was certainly striking, and I couldn't help but see the potential career implications. It's quite the opportunity. Your skills might just earn you a promotion, I remarked, though it couldn't shake the feeling of frustration at his dismissive tone. Realizing the futility of arguing with him in his current state, I chose to withdraw from the conversation, allowing him to stew in his own thoughts. With the wedding ceremony underway, we exchanged vows atop the hotel's rooftop, the picturesque setting providing a serene backdrop to our union. As the moments passed without incident, a sense of relief washed over me, the earlier turmoil momentarily forgotten. However, the tranquility was short-lived, shattered by the impending family speeches at the reception. My mother-in-law's words cut through the air like a blade, leaving me seething with anger and indignation. Despite my father-in-law's attempts to intervene, she persisted, clutching the microphone tightly as she unleashed her vitriol for all to hear. Just as I reached my breaking point, a middle-aged man rose from his seat with determined resolve, striding purposefully towards me. You don't deserve to endure this, he declared, his gaze fixed squarely on my mother-in-law. Without hesitation, he extended a guiding hand, leading me away from the escalating confrontation. My mother-in-law's outrage was palpable as she recoiled at the interruption to her tirade. However, her fury paled in comparison to the shock that rippled through the room as the man's identity was revealed. Who dares to interrupt my speech? She exclaimed, her indignation faltering as she realized the stature of the man before her. Beside her, Stephen's complexion drained of color as the truth dawned upon him. In a whirlwind of confusion, we hastily retreated from the reception hall, leaving the chaos behind. Sweating profusely and visibly flustered, Stephen struggled to regain his composure as we sought refuge in the relative privacy of the dressing room. "Why is my father here?" I gasped, the revelation sending shockwaves through my already tumultuous world. "That's correct. Stephen's company CEO is also my biological father. The dissolution of my parents' marriage stemmed from irreconcilable differences. Their constant conflicts, exacerbated by their shared workplace, led them to part ways in the belief that it was for my well-being. Despite the divorce, they maintained sporadic contact over the years. I had grown accustomed to seeing my father several times a month, his consistent child support ensuring my needs were met as I transitioned into adulthood. Even when my mother fell ill, he remained a steadfast presence, offering support in various forms, fostering a strong bond between us. Yet the revelation of his position as Stephen's boss caught me off guard. "I never knew my father was the CEO of Stephen's company," I murmured, grappling with the unexpected twists of fate. His sudden appearance at my wedding, contrary to his prior commitment to a business engagement, only added to the bewildering turn of events. "Why did you come if you had an important meeting?" I questioned, perplexed by his change in plans. "My meeting concluded earlier than anticipated. I couldn't miss the opportunity to give you this gift in person," he explained, his presence offering a glimmer of solace amidst the chaos. As I made my way to the entrance, I encountered an employee who revealed an unexpected twist. My father was the boss Stephen had mentioned. Learning of the wedding through routine preparations for a gift, my father seized the chance to attend upon discovering a vacant seat due to a last-minute cancellation. "Why didn't you tell me?" I questioned, feeling a mix of surprise and confusion at his secrecy. "After discussing with your mother, we thought it would be a delightful surprise. I never anticipated it would unfold like this," my father confessed, a tinge of sadness clouding his expression. Before I could delve deeper into the matter, the dressing room door swung open, revealing my mother-in-law's ominous presence. Her saccharine tone sent shivers down my spine as she attempted to coerce me back into the fold. The realization that she must have learned of my father's identity from her husband's revelation sent a chill through me. "Who do you think caused all of this?" "It was just a harmless joke," she declared, her attempt at levity falling flat in the face of my father's unexpected appearance. "How dare you make such a tasteless joke at my daughter's expense? It's unforgivable," my father shot back, his indignation mirroring my own. "What? So, it wasn't a jest after all? You genuinely called my daughter ugly?" My father's confrontational tone left my mother-in-law stumbling for words, her feeble attempts at evasion falling flat. In a flurry of urgency, my husband burst into the room, his hurried footsteps echoing in the tense atmosphere. He knelt before my father, seeking to atone for his mother's transgressions. "I apologize for my mother's indiscretion," he implored. "You're apologizing to the wrong person." My father's icy gaze bore down on my husband, his words laced with disappointment and reproach. "Angela, I'm sorry. My mother acted independently," my husband addressed me, his voice tinged with regret. "If that's true, then why didn't you intervene when she insulted me?" I demanded, my shock rendering me immobile. "And your father attempted to intervene," I added, incredulous. "But you seemed content to sit back and watch," I accused, my voice trembling with hurt and betrayal. "You're mistaken. My demeanor was misconstrued. Regardless, the sole responsibility lies with my mother," my husband insisted, his defense ringing hollow in the wake of his mother's egregious behavior. My husband erupted, his accusatory finger aimed squarely at his mother. "Stephen, are you turning against your own mother? We agreed to teach this insolent wife a lesson together, didn't we? Hey, enough with the unnecessary remarks. You said we needed to put this wife, who refuses to let mama have her way with the dress, in her place. Keep quiet." My husband silenced his mother, his hand muffling her protests in a somewhat comical fashion. "Now, care shed some light on this situation?" I prodded, my voice edged with urgency. "No, this was my mother's doing alone. It's for your own benefit, frankly." "At this point, don't you think?" My husband's response faltered as my father interjected, his probing gaze compelling him to speak. "When Angela insisted on choosing her wedding dress, my mother suggested she would become disobedient if not disciplined properly," my husband finally confessed, his tone tinged with reluctance. "What's wrong with choosing my own dress? Isn't it natural for a wife to heed her mother-in-law's wishes? If you can't even manage that, I feared you might become an obstinate wife who defies her husband in the future, my mother-in-law interjected, her words dripping with disdain. Marriage is a partnership of equals, isn't it? There's no hierarchy. If I can't control you, what's the use of marrying someone on the brink of aging? My husband's admission hung heavy in the air, shattering the illusion of love and commitment. The truth spilled forth. He hadn't chosen me out of affection for who I am, but as a convenient pawn in his game. All his declarations of caring for my mother, of wanting to forge a family together, were they all falsehoods? Of course, you had a tidy sum tucked away, didn't you? I had plans to use that to build a duplex. I envisioned you toiling away like a servant while my mother and I enjoyed our happiness. But now, it's all gone to waste. His words dripped with bitterness, revealing the depths of his deception. Once my husband unleashed his true feelings, there was no reining him in. His desire for control extended to draining our savings, a selfish act that left me reeling in disbelief. His expression shifted from assertive to shocked as he realized the gravity of his words. Wait, no, I didn't mean that. It's over. I can't have a wife who won't spend money or serve me, he stuttered, attempting to backtrack. Stop. I won't tolerate such disrespect, I declared, my resolve firm. I can't marry someone who views me as nothing more than a servant. His composure shattered, my husband paced nervously, grappling with the reality of our crumbling relationship. Then, as if struck by sudden clarity, he proposed a feeble solution. But our wedding is today. We can't call it off now, he reasoned, desperate to salvage the situation. I'll handle the guests and their gifts. Since your mother's actions led to this, you'll cover the expenses, I countered, refusing to shoulder the blame for his family's interference. You can't be serious. This breakup is your fault for overreacting to a single incident with my mom, he retorted, his words dripping with defensiveness. All the hurtful things you've said to me, they're all here, he added, pointing accusingly at me. Retrieving my smartphone from my purse, I pressed play, unleashing a barrage of hurtful words in my mother-in-law's own voice. Poor, ugly, harsh woman. Each insult echoed through the room, a damning testament to her cruelty. When did I record all this? I'm not naive, I declared, my resolve unyielding. I'll be seeking compensation for the emotional distress you've caused. I was merely trying to discipline my daughter-in-law. I've done nothing wrong, my mother-in-law protested weakly. If you won't pay willingly, I'll see you in court. Let's see if you'll repeat those words before a judge. This isn't a laughing matter. Realizing the precariousness of her position, my mother-in-law paled, her defiance crumbling. I'll also be reconsidering your position at the company, I added, turning to address my father-in-law. With this final blow, my husband's facade shattered, his resolve crumbling as he sank to his knees. I'm sorry, Angela. Please forgive me, he pleaded, his voice thick with remorse. That's right, Angela. You're already married. You can't just throw it away so easily. If we work together, we can overcome this obstacle and have a great future together, my husband and mother-in-law pleaded desperately. Shrugging off their attempts at reconciliation, I fixed them with a steely glare. Enough of your deceitful words. You're both despicable, I spat before storming out of the dressing room. Keeping true to my word, I proceeded to dissolve my engagement with Stephen and filed a lawsuit against my mother-in-law for the emotional torment she caused. The financial burden of the failed wedding fell squarely on my ex-husband's shoulders, serving as a harsh reminder of the consequences of his actions. Word of the debacle spread through his workplace, resulting in his ostracization by colleagues. Under my father's directive, he was relocated to a distant branch in Nebraska, effectively demoting him. My ex-mother-in-law faced scorn from her own relatives for sullying their family's reputation with the divorce. Meanwhile, my ex-father-in-law wasted no time in ejecting her from their home. As for me, I redirected my focus to my career, having no desire to entertain the notion of marriage again. Over time, my parents found solace and our family relationships flourished once more with occasional gatherings over dinner. Today, I lead a fulfilling and content life.